tonight. Gunshots rent the air as supporters of FCT minister hold a rally in Yenagoa, the Biosa State capital, as state government accuses the organizers of breaching the Electoral Act by holding the rally on a religious ground. Benu State government partners civil society organizations to lead non-violent dialogue approach in addressing farmers and herdsmen conflicts in the state. Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, Most Reverend Ignatius Kaigama, asked government to come up with strategies to address the incessant and reckless killings across the country. And death toll from a powerful explosion at Iran's biggest port of Bandar Abbas rises to at least 40, with more than 1,000 people injured. We begin in Biosa State, where a political rally organized by a group loyal to the FCT minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike, known as the New Associates, was briefly interrupted by gunfire. Security operatives, however, intervened and the event proceeded, with the organizers pointing out the reasons for holding the rally.
A highly anticipated rally in Biosa State, long at the center of political debates, finally takes place under tight security. Moments before the official start, gunshots rang out near the venue, triggering brief panic among the crowd. Security operatives, however, responded immediately, repelling the unidentified attackers and quickly restoring calm, allowing the rally to proceed as planned. An eyewitness at the scene recounts the moments of chaos, describing what transpired just before security forces moved in.
While we were dancing and celebrating, we heard some gunshots fired. People came in from the bush side. Behind me, the cameras can pick the angle they came. I was on the roadside trying to do accreditation of the personnel that will be here for the rally, and before I know, I saw people run into the gate where I was, and when I asked, they said some men armed hoodlums came in behind to come and disrupt this rally.
Chairman of the event, Roland Sekibo, explained that the rally was aimed at showing support for recent appointments and development projects credited to the efforts of the FCT minister.
As an Ijaw man, I've not seen another person that has done much for the Ijaw people like Chief Barrister Nyesom Wike. Gratefulness is a virtue. And that is what we have come here to express, and that is what we are doing.
Speaking as Father of the Day, Professor Henry Ogiri outlines key appointments linked to the FCT minister's influence, with special emphasis on gains for the Niger Delta region.
He also facilitated in appointing Dr. Alabo Buma Iyayi. And also again, we have our own son who is from here, Dr. Samuel Obuku, who is doing extremely well. And so why will we not support Tinubu? Will you support Tinubu? Will you support Nyesom Wike? Anywhere they say we will go, that is where we will go.
George Torner, leader of the New Associates in Biosa, calls on Governor Doye Diri to publicly state his stance on President Bola Tinubu's 2027 re-election bid.
I want to formally call on Governor Doye Diri's Excellency to immediately declare his stance for 2027 presidency known, so that Biosans can know where we are going to.
The rally concludes with an electrifying musical performance by Afrobeat star Duncan Mighty, who energizes the crowd with a medley of his hits, bringing a lively end to a day that began with tension.
In the meantime, the Biosa State government has called for a full investigation into the shooting incident that disrupted a political rally organized by a pro-Wike group, the New Associates in Yenagoa. on Saturday. Well, gunshots were fired shortly before the commencement of the rally, raising concerns over public safety and political tensions in the state. Although the event later continued under tight security, in a statement issued by the Commissioner for Information, Orientation and Strategy, Ibiowo Koko BI, he condemned the violence and urged security agencies, particularly the Inspector General of Police and the Biosa State Police Command, to swiftly identify and prosecute those responsible. The statement reads in part, "The Biosa State government strongly condemns the acts of violence witnessed during the rally. We call on law enforcement agencies to immediately launch an investigation and bring to justice anyone involved." End quote. The government described the shooting as unfortunate and avoidable, stressing that the organizers of the rally had earlier suggested the presence of disruptive elements, citing their remarks that the good, the bad and the ugly would attend the event. It further criticized the use of a religious campground for political activities, stating that it violated established guidelines under the Electoral Act and INEC regulations. The government warned political groups against dragging religious institutions into partisan conflicts, vowing to sanction any organization found in breach of the law. The presidency has responded to the criticism that trailed recent defections of opposition leaders into the ruling All Progressives Congress, the APC. The presidency, in a statement signed by the special advisor to the president, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, says it finds it curious that those who celebrated defection of the former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, to the Social Democratic Party and the formation of a regional grand coalition with the sole aim of defeating President Tinubu in the 2027 general elections are the same people blaming the president for the recent defections. The statement reads in part, "The opposition cannot blame President Tinubu and the governing APC for their poor organization, indiscipline and gross incompetence in managing their affairs. It is certainly not part of President Tinubu's job to organize or strengthen opposition parties." End quote. Last Wednesday, Governor Sheriff Oborevwori of Delta State, Ifeanyi Okowa, his immediate predecessor, both dumped the People's Democratic Party to join the APC, forming part of the recent political defections witnessed in recent times. The chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum and Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodimma, says he's optimistic that more members of the opposition People's Democratic Party, the PDP, will defect to the All Progressives Congress. Governor Uzodimma made this known while addressing newsmen in Abuja after a meeting with political stakeholders from Delta. The meeting, which was attended by governors of Cross River, Kwara and Kogi State, had in attendance the national chairman of the party, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, and some PDP chieftains who defected recently, along with the Delta State governor.
The high point of the state of the party is that Delta State is now almost a one-party state. So, with that development, we have to meet to be able to manage this very huge success, to ensure that using the mechanism, internal mechanism of our great party, that we will receive our new members, our new leaders, and then we'll come together as a family to grow the party and support the government in Delta State for the benefit of our people and members of our great party. So I think we're happy with the development and a big testimony to the fact that APC government in Nigeria is being admired by many, if not all and sundry.
Now, with all that is being witnessed in the political atmosphere, the former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Morris Iwu, is asking politicians not to be distracted by the early political permutations towards the 2027 general elections. Speaking to journalists at his country home in Imo State during the Thanksgiving ceremony, Professor Iwu emphasizes the complexity of governance in Nigeria, especially at a time of scarce resources and growing economic challenges. According to him, the present moment demands national unity and collective effort rather than premature discussions about the 2027 elections.
2027 is still very far. We should more or less try to hold those who have elected accountable. We need to demand, suggest, and be able to also see what contribution we can make to make Nigeria a better place. It is not easy at all to rule a country. And now that things are even more difficult in terms of resources and so on, this is the time that we should all come together and do for now, not for 2027. I think we should give Tinubu and his men some time, and anything we can do, we should recommend, suggest, demand, and whatever I can. But being able to start talking about 2027 to me is a very big distraction at this time. Without peace and security, you can't do much. So it's something that we should all make our little contribution, no matter how small. But I was pleased when I heard the DSS DG made some recommendations. I think that is a beginning, so that we should localize it. The police are doing their best. The army is also doing its best. But what we should do is to see what individual contribution, communities and so on. I do buy completely what he said in that interview, the DSS DG. He was saying that people should be able to take their own security into their own hands and see what they can do to add to what government is doing already.
Well, indeed, the Nigra Police appears to be doing its best, and the Nigra Police says operatives of the Fast Carry Division of the Kaduna State Police Command have successfully foiled a kidnap attempt along the Babaj Gusol highway. A statement by the Force Public Relations Officer, ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, says the operatives engaged the bandits in a fierce gun duel, causing them to escape with bullet wounds, leaving behind 10 victims, including 2 drivers and 8 passengers who were rescued unhurt and then reunited with their families. The statement adds that in another development, on April the 18th this year, operatives attached to the Kaduna State Intelligence Department, in collaboration with local vigilante, successfully apprehended a notorious criminal, Umar Ramad, wanted by the police for several months at a roadblock in Jalingo. According to the statement, following interrogation, Ahmad led operatives to Mayo Faran village in Mayo Belwa local government area. That's a border town between Taraba and Adamawa states, where a comprehensive search of the area led to the recovery of 2 AK-47 rifles, 8 magazines, and 39 rounds of live ammunition. The statement disclosed that further investigation revealed that one of the recovered guns belongs to the Taraba State Police Command, which was earlier carted away during an ambush in 2023 when kidnappers attacked a team of the anti-kidnapping squad, resulting in the death of one ASP Aminu Nuhu. The government of Benu State says it is adopting non-kinetic approach by deploying civil society organizations, led non-violent dialogue approach to farmers and herdsmen conflict in order to promote peaceful resolution of disputes. A special advisor to Governor Hyacinth Alia on Security and Internal Affairs, Mr. Joseph Har, disclosed this at an engagement review session organized by Elohim Development Foundation, one of the CSOs retained by the state government on peace building. Also speaking at the event, the Executive Director, Dr. Victoria Dahl, while speaking on the gains of the peace and non-violent dialogue approach, says over 15,000 farmers and herdsmen have been trained as they work to restore peace in Gumagwe West communities.
Following the ban on open grazing by the Benu State government in 2017, herdsmen attacks across Benue rural communities increased. However, the administration of Governor Hyacinth Alia, in seeking ways to deal with the problem, reinstituted a 20-year-old community-based dialogue led by Elohim Development Foundation. Some of the peace ambassadors share their work experiences.
This initiative brought understanding and return of so many ITP in Gumalaga government. That is why the Gumalaga government is peaceful, and also some areas is Nagatu, Ohimini, Okogu, Kasnala, Logo, Taka, and also part of Makuti local government. Through the dialogue, we discovered that the market women were innocent as they were alleged, giving information out to the headers. So from there, the trust was rebuilt, and henceforth they are carrying out their market activities without any form of suspicion again.
The Director General, Benue Peace Commission, lauds the initiative that has seen some communities lead peace talk.
Elohim is now mentoring me and the Peace Commission in the expertise that they have in peace. And when they do that, they have the recognition on their profile of the fact that we are working with the Peace Commission, developing the capacities of their staff.
The gains of the dialogue take center stage.
As experts in peace building, we've trained community members on reflective structured dialogue. What this dialogue does is, this skill is for community members to be able to solve their problems at the community level through dialogue instead of resorting to conflict.
Cattle destroy your crops. You don't take the laws into your hands, you report. They arrest the cattle owner and he pays for damages. If someone cuts your cow with machete, you don't take the law into your hands. You report to the committee and we'll discuss it. So dialogue, reflective structured dialogue that this Elohim people has introduced has actually brought succor in the polity.
Although some communities in Branch Uday on the Benu side and Rukubi in Nasarawa State and those around Umbachocho in Gwer West are returning to their homes, residents advocate the need for the dialogue model to be expanded in order to break the cycle of violence in some parts of the state.
In part two, after the break, the federal government is seeking to move away from concessional funding to revenue mobilization. How are they effecting this plan? Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. A reminder of our main stories. Gunshots rent the air as supporters of FCT minister hold a rally in Yenagoa, the Biosa State capital, as state government accuses the organizers of breaching the Electoral Act by holding the rally on a religious ground. Benu State government partners civil society organizations to lead non-violent dialogue approach in addressing farmers and herdsmen conflicts in the state. Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, Most Reverend Ignatius Kaigama, asked government to come up with strategies to address the incessant and reckless killings across the country. And death toll from a powerful explosion at Iran's biggest port of Bandar Abbas rises to at least 40, with more than 1,000 people injured. The Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, Most Reverend Ignatius Kaigama, is asking government to come up with strategies to permanently address the spate of killings in different parts of the country. The priest, who was speaking in his hometown of Kona in Taraba State after a church service, says despite the incessant killing of farmers on their farms by hoodlums, there is a need for the youth to return to farming. He also added his voice to the debate on the call for self-defense, saying it is a viable option.
Wherever I go, I cry out. I say, my people are suffering. My people have been killed. Blood is being shed in Plateau, in Bassa, in Bokos, in many places. So my duty is to amplify the agony of the people. I'm their loudspeaker, so to say. So government has the duty to profile solutions, to get the security agents to do the needful by getting to the root of this problem. We are tired of these incessant killings, reckless killings by criminals. Something should be done and done pretty fast. Self-defense is a natural justice. It's, you have anything that is legitimate to defend your family, to defend yourself. As long as it is legitimate, it's not something out of the way. So we are only against those who acquire weapons and so illegitimately and they attack people with these and so on. But if you go to the proper procedure and get your thing to defend yourself, I don't think anybody would have issues with you. So we just call for caution that whether you defend yourself or you have a weapon to defend yourself, it's just caution.
On Wednesday, the state governors under the aegis of the Nigeria Governors Forum met with the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, to discuss the ongoing insecurity challenges across the country. The discussion focused on the security challenges in states with the aim of finding solutions to address the escalating violence. Babaj Gusol, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst, is right here to share more intelligence about the insecurity wave and, of course, the way to peace. Babaj, great to have you again on the News at 10.
Good evening, Ayatollah.
Yes, indeed. So the Chief of Defense Staff, we understand, during the week met with the Nigeria governors, of course, to talk about the security situation where we are presently. So is there any information, Babaj, on what was agreed at this meeting?
After the meeting, sealed lips. It's not clear what was agreed and what was discussed. However, what is clear is that the Governors Forum missed the opportunity to have a wider participation in the room. So yes, we had the Chief of Defense Staff, but again, the security challenges we face goes beyond just that military perspective. There's a border perspective, no representation. We have a religious perspective, no representation. We have an ethnic perspective, no representation. Policing, no representation. So it seems that the thinking is still the military has all the solution. And if that diagnosis is still what we feel will lead us out of the woods, the answer is no. But beyond the other perspectives and representations that were missing from the Governors Forum meeting with the Chief of Defense Staff, there are two perspectives I want us to quickly talk about. The trade perspective and the climate perspective. Now, what do I mean by the trade perspective? I'd like us to take a look at the world's leaders of beef exports. And even though they are exporting so much beef, they do not have the sort of challenges with their cattle and their land that Nigeria has. See Brazil, $9.3 billion of beef exports last year. Now, I tell you, why is this important? Going by our own records, Nigeria's cattle, all of our trade in cattle, all of the exports, $25 million in a year. Yet we have so much problems. $25 million worth of cattle is what Brazil does in a day. Brazil exports the equivalent of $25 million worth of beef in a day. Yet it doesn't have this sort of cattle, herders, conflict, land grazing issues that Nigeria has. Nigeria does only $25 million in a year, and we have so much issues. Clearly, there's a lot going on beyond cattle farming and herders conflict. So we need to clearly understand that what will happen if we then even start doing the big numbers. We are not doing the big numbers, yet we have so much issues at hand. The second perspective is the climate perspective, and for me, that is perhaps the perspective the Northern Governors Forum should be looking at. Let's take a look at what exactly is the United States, the United Nations position on what is going on in Africa. What they've said in their report that came out just about 90 days ago was shocking. Regions where the herbaceous biomass losses are predicted to be the largest tended to be concentrated in Africa. West Africa, for instance, is expected to lose up to 34% of its herbaceous biomass by 2050. In simple terms, what this report is saying is that West Africa is expected to lose more than a third of its grazing land within the next 25 years. The effects of climate change. Again, just think about it for one moment. West Africa is expected to lose over a third of its grazing land over the next 25 years. And that exactly is part of what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a lot of farmers feeling the pressure of inability to have their cattle eat, and we're still pretty much still running the traditional archaic system that isn't working. So clearly, going forward, we have to look at different perspectives to solve this problem.
Indeed, challenging times ahead from what you just talked about. Now, is the rise in insecurity, Babaj, and of course the wave that related to withdrawal of Burkina Faso, Mali, and of course Niger from ECOWAS?
That is just a bit of the problem. A bit of the problem. But the bigger problem is the states having sufficient funds, and most of their funds are not going towards security. And that's where we really need to look at. Yes, we have the federal government trying to increase its budget and its allocation to to security issues. The question is, Ayatunde, for 2025, the northern states, I'm talking about the 19 northern states, have a combined state budget in equivalent of 12 trillion naira. However, the average is only 2% of this 12 trillion naira goes into security. To put this in better perspective, let's take a look at how much Lagos State is budgeting to security despite not having as much issues as this northern state, and then it allows you to clearly understand it in the chart of the week. Now, what exactly is going on? The security budget, Ayatunde, for Lagos State, in terms of area, we know Lagos State clearly is the smallest landmass in the country. The state has a budget of 124 billion naira for security. The North Central, all of the states in the North Central, combined cumulative budgets, only 95 billion naira. All the 7 states in the Northwest, cumulative budget, 65 billion naira for security. All the states in the Northeast, cumulative budget, 55 billion naira. So just think about that for one moment. The security budget of Lagos State is more than the security budget of all the states in the North Central, all the states in the Northwest, all the states in the Northeast. How will they find peace with such mega security budgets?
Wow. This is really interesting, Babaj, because when you look at it, for Lagos, 124 billion. I mean, it says a lot. It really says a lot. And North Central, Northwest, and Northeast is not even up to that amount. But let's narrow it down now to the, or let me say generally now, for all the state governors, really, talking about insecurity and the responsibilities, of course. The actions of the state governors, is there any indicator to show, that they're taking any responsibility and actions, in providing security, really?
So one indicator is the meeting they had with the Chief of Defense Staff. However, these meetings have to be more frequent, and these meetings have to clearly be more inclusive with other perspectives and other institutions that are responsible for security. However, what we've seen is an over-reliance on the military. Let's take a look at some of the trips even the military leadership has done in the last 12 months. A lot of visits have gone to the Northwest. If you take a look at the travels, especially by the Chief of Defense Staff who was in that meeting, if you take a look at those trips, we've seen him go to Sokoto within the last 12 months. We've seen a lot of trips to, remember last year, July, there was a trip to Plateau State where the Chief of Defense Staff engaged with the governor, military officers, and other stakeholders. Remember in last year, September, there was engagements with the troops in Katsina and other security stakeholders. Remember, same September, last year, special engagement with the governor, a trip to Kaduna shortly after in October. So what we've seen is we still see a lot of reliance on the defense headquarters showing leadership when it comes to community engagement and reaching out. We now need the states, the local government, and other institutions to turn up. That is really where the solution is, especially not to rely on just the military perspective to finding a solution to all of what is going on. Today, there's even a political perspective to this. Remember, last election for the Labour Party, Benu and Plateau State in the North Central were the 2 states where the Labour Party had its highest votes. So in all, we have to understand that there are several perspectives to the insecurity situation we find ourselves, especially across northern Nigeria. Ayotunde.
Well, definitely leave it at that. Babaj Gusol, thank you for your analysis again on the News at 10.
Pleasure is always mine.
Still ahead on the News at 10, Christ Outreach on Disabilities, CODISA, continues to create impact with its commitment to supporting individuals with disabilities with the launch of its foundation. Please join us again. Welcome back to the News at 10. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, says Nigeria is moving away from concessional funding to revenue mobilization. The minister, who was speaking during a news conference on the outcome of Nigeria's participation at the 2025 International Monetary Fund and World Bank Spring Meetings in Washington, D.C. in the United States, says that the federal government has moved away from its focus on concessional funding from institutional organizations such as the World Bank and bilateral agencies. Our correspondent, Sarah Chimugu, who has been covering events at the spring meetings in Washington, D.C., now reports.
The The spring meetings of the World Bank and the IMF have come and gone, and it is time for the Nigerian delegation to outline some of the gains of the meeting. The Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edu, is promising to take home the recommendations received during the meeting to build a stronger economy.
We're not going to take many questions. The day has been long.
Both the Minister of Finance and the Central Bank Governor took time to outline some of the gains of the meeting.
We have had conversations which have encouraged us in the fact that both at the World Bank and at the IMF at the highest levels, they have seen it fit to point out that Nigeria is on the right path in terms of its monetary policy, in terms of its fiscal policy. That was objectively pointed out by the recent upgrade in the rating of Nigeria.
Our delegation used the meetings as a platform to spotlight Nigeria's bold economic reforms and explore further measures to enhance macroeconomic stability, strengthen our financial system, and drive inclusive growth for all Nigerians.
They speak on the next steps for Nigeria. This includes how to generate revenue, ensure that proceeds of the removal of fuel subsidy impacts the people through various social safety nets, and how the central bank will continue to control inflation and defend the nation's currency, the Naira.
In terms of the global economy, it is expected to now grow at around 2.8% instead of the earlier predictions of 3.3%. That's a function of the effect of the reciprocal tariff regime and its aftermath that was introduced and announced on April 2.
Our policy stance is firmly focused on bringing inflation down to single digits in a sustainable manner over the medium term. Our goal is to restore price stability, protect household purchasing power, and lay the foundation for long-term investment.
As the 191 member countries of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank depart the venue of the spring meeting, it will be interesting to see how decisions reached here will affect their people. From Washington, D.C., Sarah Chimugu, Channels Television News.
Back in Nigeria, the Kaduna State government has expressed concern over the negative impact of environmental degradation, highlighting its severe consequences on the environment, biodiversity, and economy. The senior counselor to Governor Ubasani, Mr. Ado Audu, raised the concern during the inauguration of the Petroleum, Environment, and Solid Minerals Degradation Awareness Association Task Force in the state.
Environmental degradation caused by activities of illegal miners across the country continues to impact negatively on ecosystems, human health, and the economy. Among the impact is the loss of biodiversity, leading to loss of plants and animal species, soil erosion, and reduced agricultural productivity, thereby leading to food insecurity.
I will uphold the integrity.
At the inauguration of the Petroleum, Environment, and Solid Minerals Degradation Awareness Association, a group that has been very vocal about the impact of illegal mining and other related vices in the country, brings the negative impact of illegal mining to the front burner.
Each one of us will enjoy the dividends of our nation and still have an environment that is safe, secured, and peaceful. Let's be the change and save our nation.
The need for collaborative efforts to tackle illegal activities that impact negatively on the environment is highlighted just as the representative of Governor Obasani emphasizes the importance of collective action to support initiatives that will curb the menace of illegal mining and other related vices threatening the environment.
The task force officers have come on board, are here to be able to complement what we have existing on ground. The stakeholders, the security agencies, all parastatals that are given the charge to manage the sectors. So we are coming to help, to be able to drive their mandate home.
The community are not aware of the hazard. They only think of the better side of the mining activities. So with the emergence of the task force, they should be able to enlighten the community, enlighten the operators too, so that they should play their role to do what is right at the mining community.
The association says it will continue to be vocal about the environmental degradation in Nigeria by raising awareness about the impact of illegal activities of miners on local communities, in addition to working with communities affected by environmental degradation, as well as providing support and advocacy for their rights and interests.
41 years after its establishment as a church committee dedicated to supporting individuals with disabilities and those facing disadvantage, Christ Outreach on Disabilities, CODISA, has evolved into a foundation. This transformation aims to broaden its mission, expand its outreach, and positively impact more lives. At its unveiling ceremony, the leadership of the foundation emphasized that it will continue to bridge the gap necessary for people with disabilities to thrive. Our correspondent Chris Lems reports.
The atmosphere here is filled with joy and a celebration of growth for an outreach that has poured its heart and resources into supporting people living with disabilities. Among the guests are familiar faces, individuals who deeply understand and appreciate the unwavering commitment of this group, and there is a sense of excitement for what lies ahead.
Since our inception, we have been a beacon of hope, touching countless lives and fostering progress for people with disabilities. Our legacy is built on unwavering dedication and remarkable achievements, and we stand tall knowing that our work has made a tangible difference.
For 41 remarkable years, Christ Outreach on Disabilities, CODISA, has operated with a powerful ethos of service, partnership, and humility. Now, with the transition to a foundation, their ambition is clear: to amplify their impact and extend their reach even further.
In Nigeria, it is estimated that over 25 million people live with some form of disabilities, and yet many of them still lack basic resources to thrive. The good news, though, is that CODISA is changing the narrative.
CODISA initially took root within the worshiping community of the Chapel of the Healing Cross. Members, recognizing the diverse gifts within their congregation, felt a need to support people with disabilities.
We can boldly tell you that partnership has produced up to 100 graduates from Bethesda.
And now, the moment we've been waiting for, the official unveiling ceremony. With this significant step, CODISA Foundation boldly declares its intention to create a world where individuals with disabilities can achieve their fullest potential, undeterred by the challenges they may face.
But when it comes to the hearing impaired children or deaf children, for them to assimilate what you are passing through to them, for them to be able to get the information, it will take a while. So you need more effort.
With open arms and a spirit of collaboration, Kodisa Foundation extends a warm welcome to all who are willing to join them on this important journey as partners in progress. Chris Elems, Channels Television News.
Now, the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, the TUC, has concluded its delegate conference in Abuja, with its leadership presenting several awards to workers for their exceptional performances. President of the Congress, Mr. Festus Osifo, also used the occasion to highlight the critical role of workers in building the economy, just as he advocates better welfare for the workers.
Serving and some former executive members of the Trade Union Congress converge on the Ladi Kwali Hall in Abuja as the delegate conference comes to an end.
Mathematics.
This phase of the conference, which started on Friday, is to appreciate and present awards to some workers for their contributions to a better society.
Friday Okeregbe, Channels Television.
One after the other, the awardees in their different categories file out to receive their awards. It's a dinner and awards night indeed. However, the President of Congress will not leave without a word.
The workers are the people that are behind the GDP figures. You do hear, oh, Nigeria, we are $500 billion in terms of GDP. Who are the people that generate this GDP? It is the workers. So we felt about 3 years ago that we need to recognize the Nigerian workers. We need to recognize our members. We need to tell our stories. We shouldn't wait for others to recognize the effort that Nigerian workers are putting into production.
In a similar vein, the former president of Congress, who traced the history of the TUC, harps on activism that benefits workers.
We know the extent, the achievement of Comrade Peter Esele. Some of us just built on that. I had my time, 2013 to 2019. I handed over the baton to Comrade Quadri. Our erudite current President General, Comrade Festus Osifo, began his reign in 2022. Some of us had it rough. But Comrade Osifo, you are lucky. You are given the opportunity to steer the ship without turbulence.
The TUC is a labor force to reckon with in Nigeria. And as the Congress wraps up its 2025 conference, a new season beckons for its re-elected executives.
A transformational leader.
Still to come on the news at 10, the death toll from a powerful explosion at Iran's biggest port of Bandar Abbas rises to at least 40, with more than 1,000 people injured. Please join us again. Welcome back. And now to the arts. Dry Season is a solo exhibition by Professor Eva Obodo at the Core Gallery in Lagos. The artist uses charcoal, thread, and other found objects to make a statement through his work of art. We see it on Art Review tonight.
Eva Obodo, a professor of fine and applied arts at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, presents his latest solo exhibition at the Core Gallery in Lagos, and it begins by explaining the whole concept of dry season.
Dry season, we know, is a period when the rains have gone on a holiday. And it's a period of dryness. It's a period when you have scarcity of water. It's a period of time when grass and animals that depend on it for survival find survival very challenging. So during this period, things wither, and because of scarcity of water, and you know very well that it is said that water is life. So because there is scarcity of life, you see life becomes very challenging.
Dry season here refers to the exploration of harsh conditions, both political within Nigeria and outside Nigeria, that has affected most of the titles of the work you have, and the absence of water within the charcoal, metaphorically, in the sense that's that harsh condition. And so that's the allusion we are trying to create here with the title Dry Season.
This metaphor is interpreted in charcoal and fiber works, which show his continuous passion for exploration with more binding, tying, and polishing of images, which have evolved over many years of artistic practice.
I graduated from the University of, from the Department of Fine Arts, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Did my MFA there, did my PhD there, and there I teach as a lecturer. And I've been practicing since that time. If you look around, you discover that I came with two kinds of arts. One done with charcoal, the other done with fabrics. But two of them use the same approach, the same method, the same technique. So you discover that what I say in charcoal is like, it's almost the same thing that I say in or with fabrics. It's just like somebody speaking English, sometimes you speak German or you speak French. That's what, but you are saying the same thing somehow.
The artist is using materials like coal to start a discussion about the need for human beings to do better, especially with the development of human capital and natural resources.
In sports news, Rama Stars Football Club have emerged as the Nigra Premier Football League champions for the 2024-25 season after beating Niger Tornadoes 1-0 to attain an unassailable 10-point lead with 3 matches yet to be played. Elsewhere, visiting Ayimba beat rivals Rangers of Enugu 2-1, while Nasarawa United beat Heartland 1-0, courtesy of a goal by Solomon Chiogozie in the 45th minute. In other games, Abia Warriors defeated Shooting Stars of Ibadan. Aqua United also beat Ikorodu City. Biosa United beat El Kanemi Warriors, while Plateau United beat Bendel Insurance. Relegation-threatened Sunshine Stars of Akure defeated Katsina United as they step up the fight against the drop, while Kwara United hammered Lobi Stars. In England, Liverpool have been crowned English Premier League champions for a record equaling 20th time after a 5-1 rout of Tottenham sealed their first Premier League title since 2020. The Reds, 15 points clear of second-place Arsenal with 4 games left, are now level with bitter rivals Man United as the joint most successful club in English top-flight history.
Very happy, of course, but to a certain extent also quite unreal, because you've worked so hard for this moment to happen, and when it then does happen, it needs some time for you to truly feel it. But the fans were so happy that it didn't take me long to understand what we've achieved together this season. The moment I knew I would become the new head coach over here, that's already a moment where you're so proud of, to be part of such a great football club. Then now to be part of the history of this football club is something I think I could have only dreamt of.
And Real Madrid boss Carlo Ancelotti is set for more talks about taking over as Brazil coach before the 2026 World Cup qualifiers in June. The 65-year-old Italian will meet representatives acting on behalf of the Brazilian Football Federation. Well, Ancelotti said his future was a topic for the next week's following Real's stormy Copa del Rey final defeat by FC Barcelona in Seville on Saturday. Away from sports news, a morning is turning to anger after a huge blast at Iran's largest commercial port killed at least 40 people and injured more than 1,000. The explosion happened on Saturday morning at Shahid Rajai port, and many people rushed to hospitals up and down the country to give blood.
CCTV footage obtained from Iran's Shahid Rajai port shows the moment the fire erupted on Saturday. triggering a massive explosion which claimed at least 40 lives and injured over 1,000 people. Shahid Raje is the country's largest commercial port near the southern city of Bandar Abbas. It blew out windows and roofs of nearby buildings and destroyed cars. Residents reported fleeing the impacts of the blast up to 50 kilometers away. There were at least 3 areas ablaze following the explosion. Authorities say the fire was the result of improper handling of a shipment of solid fuel intended for use in Iranian ballistic missiles. Some media reports quote eyewitnesses saying the explosion occurred after a fire broke out and spread to unsealed containers storing flammable materials. Customs officials later released a statement reported by Iranian state TV saying the explosion had probably resulted from a fire that had broken out in a hazmat and chemical materials storage depot. President Masoud Pezeshkian expressed deep regret and sympathy for the victims. He announced a government investigation and sent the interior minister to the region to lead it. On Sunday, he arrived at the Khatam al-Anbiya Hospital, Bandar Abbas, to visit the victims. Authorities have declared a day of national mourning on Monday with an additional day of mourning in Homagan province. Several countries, including the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Russia and Japan, have extended their condolences to the families who lost their lives and pledged their support to Tehran. Saturday's explosion coincided with the latest round of negotiations between Iranian and U.S. officials on Iran's nuclear program, with U.S. President Donald Trump aiming to make a deal that will prevent Tehran from gaining nuclear weapons. The talks this year have marked the first high-level engagement between the U.S. and Iran since 2018, when Trump in his first term pulled out of a previous deal to restrict Iran's nuclear activities and reinstate economic sanctions.
And the main news again. The presidency has responded to the criticism that has trailed recent defections of opposition leaders into the ruling All Progressives Congress, the APC. In a statement by the special advisor to the president, Biosa, it says it finds it curious that those who celebrated the defection of the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, to the Social Democratic Party and the formation of a regional grand coalition with the sole aim of defeating President Tinubu in the 2027 election are the same people blaming the president for the recent defections. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. You have a good night.